Welcome back to Big Mouth and welcome to the dceu Daily. Remember, you can tag me, follow me and speak to me over on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. The Snyder Cut numbers are finally in. Not officially from HBO Max. Eventually, when they have their big kind of results calls in a few weeks, we'll hear how successful, because I think it's been really successful, the Snyder Cut has been. But this is an interesting report. Audience viewership. Following its opening weekend, Samba TV reported that 1.8 million American households had watched at least the first 5 minutes of the film between March 19th and the 21st. The total was behind the 3-day total of fellow dceu film Wonder Woman 1984, 2.2 million, but ahead of the pilot episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, 1.7 million, which debuted the same weekend on Disney+. Samba TV also reported that just 1/3 of households watched the film in its entirety in a single sitting. Over its first full week of release, the film was watched by 2.2 million households in the United States, with 792,000, 36% finishing it. Over the same time frame, the HBO Max app was downloaded 64% more and opened 8.9% more than in an average week. Wow. Forbes estimated that if all new subscribers watched the film and stayed subscribed to the platform, Zack Snyder's Justice League would result in around 266 million in revenue for Warner Brothers. In India, where it was released on Book My Show stream, about 100,000 homes watched the film in its first weekend. In the United Kingdom, where it is streaming via Sky Cinema, the film was viewed by 954,000 households, with 458,000, 48%, watching its entirety. Right, I think we need to unpackage these figures, don't we? So let's go back to this and break it down figure by figure. So, following its opening weekend, Samba TV reported that 1.8 million American households had watched at least the first 5 minutes of the film between March the 19th and 21st. So first of all, where are the numbers for the 18th? These are core numbers, right? Core numbers. Because that tells an entirely probably better story and different story. But again, HBO Max are withholding these numbers. So I will assume eventually we'll get these numbers, right? So, film between March the 19th and 21st. The total was behind the 3-day total of fellow dceu film Wonder Woman 1984. 2.2 million. Right, I don't see any point in comparing these two figures. Wonder Woman 1984 is a much shorter movie. It's a movie that the normies would have come in for, the mainstream, however you want to tag them. So you would expect that film to be slightly higher. But these opening figures for the Snyder Cut are brilliant. So let's get that clear. But ahead of the pilot episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, 1.7 million, which again is very positive and exactly what we want to see. Beating an MCU property is a big thing, which debuted the same weekend on Disney+. Samba TV also reported that just 1/3 of households watched the film in its entirety in a single sitting. Well, that's understandable. We're talking about a 4-hour movie. Plus, this is good for HBO Max because people kept on coming back to the film and coming back to the streaming service. This is a positive thing, right? So same weekend, Samba TV also reporting that just 1/3 of households watched the film in its entirety in a single sitting over its full week of release. The film was watched by 2.2 million households. So again, very good. In the United States, with 792,000, 36% finishing it. Over the same time frame, the HBO Max app was downloaded 64% more and opened 89% more than in an average week. That's amazing. That's because of this film, right? People were downloading this app and opening this up so much more than usual. That's massive. Again, a massive success for HBO Max and AT&T and Warner Media, and for the movie. These are amazing numbers. Forbes estimated that if all new subscribers watched the film and stayed subscribed to the platform, Zack Snyder's Justice League would result in around the 266 million in revenue for Warner Brothers. So that's massive. In India, where it was released on Book My Show stream, about 100,000 homes watched the film in its first weekend. In the United Kingdom, where it is streaming via Sky Cinema, the film was viewed 954,000 households, with 458,000, 48%, watching it in its entirety. So people actually watched the whole film without a break. 458,000 people, 48%. That's really good. And so these are really, really interesting numbers. Now, the 266 million that potentially could head in Warner Media's pocket because of this film and people staying on the HBO Max platform are interesting. So basically what I see, right, from these numbers, that Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut has been a big success in its opening, right? And any company in their right mind would be saying, get me some of that. Get me some of these. Get me some of this, right? Because these numbers are brilliant. But these are just the tip of the iceberg, these numbers. Because we've got to wait at least for a month. I don't know how long this film's going to remain on the platform. Is it forever? Will it leave eventually? I don't know. But I would say an average movie stays in the movie theatre for about a month, right? So we would have to look at this again after a month and then compare this film to Wonder Woman 84. Because I believe there's more repeat viewings for Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut than I think there will be after a month than there was after a month of Wonder Woman 84 streaming on HBO Max. I think Wonder Woman 84 stayed on the platform for about a month, right? So we got to be fair and wait for Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut to actually stay on the platform for a month so we can compare those figures. But I don't see the point of comparing too much between the Snyder Cut and Wonder Woman 84. I think it's pointless. It doesn't matter. But these figures, take away Wonder Woman 84. First of all, defeating Falcon and the Winter Soldier is massive for the DCEU and for Snyder. But basically, what this report thus far says, that this has been brilliant for the HBO Max streaming service, for the app, that's been downloaded and opened more, 64% more. Wow. So basically, there's going to be people out there who try and twist the narrative and spin this into Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut not beating Wonder Woman 84. This, of course, is, how can I put it? This is basically an illusionary kind of way of looking at it. It's not the truth. It's basically would be garnishing to try and make Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut look like a failure. But that would be a lie. Because nobody should be looking at those numbers and saying this has been a failure. It's been a huge success. And in terms of these numbers, any business selling anything would want more of this. So Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut is a success. Now, we are going to be getting more numbers. I kind of think those numbers are irrelevant, but it would be nice to see after a month how many people are still watching it, how many people are finishing it, because it is a 4-hour movie. Now, people not finishing it on HBO Max originally on the opening weekend and waiting a bit is understandable. It's understandable that Wonder Woman 84 was getting more kind of people watching it in its entirety straight away because it's a 2.5-hour film compared to a 4-hour film, right? So that's not a problem to me either. So this film has been an absolute success and there's no excuse, there's no reason why the Snyderverse shouldn't be restored. If you haven't seen young Ripper's video about Justice League, go and watch it. Not only does he end the video with a review of Zack Snyder's Justice League, he does an entire kind of history lesson on the Justice League in DC Comics. It's very interesting. Great YouTuber. Obviously, I'm not an obsessed follower of his. I know he can be quite political, but his comic book knowledge is second to none, and you should really check out the video if you've got some time. It's over an hour. It's sensational, and I really enjoyed it. But while watching Young Ripper's video, I found it very interesting when he was talking about DC Rebirth compared to the New 52. Now, what you'll find is with the DCEU, it's been mostly kind of half adapting the New 52, which has been part of the problem with hardcore comic fans, because hardcore comic fans mainly hate the New 52. There's some people who defend it, but most people hate the fact that it literally deleted all the canon and all the history from the past 40, 50 years or so. More now. We're talking about 60, 70, 80 years, right? Now, DC Rebirth came after the New 52. So I find that very interesting as well. But what the New 52 does, it doesn't forget. It remembers everything, but those characters, because basically the universe has been rebooted again, right? So the DC Rebirth, the history is back, but the characters take time to remember that history and who they are, by the way. And so I found this very interesting. So if you remember back to DC fandom, Andy Muschietti, the director of the Flash movie, Flashpoint, said that Barry Allen would reboot the universe, which I was staggered how he just said it. He just came out with it just like that. They're not even hiding what they're attempting to do. It's astounding. It's amazing. It's exciting and triggering at the same time. All these emotions if you're a DC fan, right? So he said that Barry Allen will reboot the DCEU, but nothing will be forgotten. Now, he didn't give more details. So I think this is looking like Flashpoint doing DC Rebirth over the New 52. They've tried adapting the New 52 in places. For example, Jared Leto's Joker and David Ayer's Suicide Squad is more of an adaptation of the New 52 Joker. He's more of a gangster, as we saw in that weird version of Suicide Squad. And so I think the reboot that we're going to see in Flashpoint is more going to be an adaptation of the DC Rebirth situation. Now, I don't think anything's going to be copy and pasted, because these people never copy and paste. They like to have their own interpretations. And most of the time that really doesn't work out for storytellers or directors or writers. But I do think this is an interesting opportunity. So if you can imagine Flashpoint, Barry goes back to save his mum, saves his mum. He creates this new universe. It's fucked up. It's terrible. It's a war. It's a dark time. And Michael Keaton's Batman helps Barry to get his powers back, because in the comics, when he does change history and his mum stays alive, he also loses his flash speed in this new universe, his flash abilities. So basically, you get that whole sequence in the comics and in the Flashpoint Paradox, the animated movie, where literally they're trying to conduct lightning to electrocute Barry Allen. So once he gets his abilities back, he breaks the speed of light again, and he changes things back, but he doesn't. And in some instances, he reboots the universe. And this is what I'm assuming Andy Muschietti is talking about. So I believe he will reboot the DCEU. Now, I remember after Justice League, people were saying, it's going to be rebooted, it's going to be rebooted. And I said, no way are they going to do that. They've got Aquaman coming up. But what these people did was played a very sly, intelligent game. They couldn't do anything in Aquaman. It was already in development. It would have made sense for kind of a reboot of the universe in Aquaman, because they had decided they weren't going to delete everything and start from scratch. So they needed to do something. Now, I said a long time, even just after Justice League and a long time afterwards, this was one of their options where they could get Barry Allen to reboot the universe. And it's looking like they're going to do exactly that. And as I say, very interesting. Because if they do this right, so there were rumours from Grace Randolph that this was going to happen in Wonder Woman 84. It's clear to me that there were discussions to try and fit this in somewhere as quick as possible. And I think at that time they were also having discussions with Zack about greenlighting his Justice League film. So they thought, probably let's not do it during Wonder Woman 84. And if you remember, Gal Gadot came out to announce the delay and all of that and said, things are changing back to the way they were. So that was a little clue. That was a little clue. We were getting the Snyder Cut. So they couldn't do it then. So then they thought, it just makes sense to do it in a Flash movie, doesn't it? Because Barry Allen has these abilities. Now, I'm assuming in Wonder Woman 84 they were going to find a way because of the way that story was, that Diana changes something which changes the timeline. But they realised it wasn't going to work, and probably Patty Jenkins wasn't happy with doing it in that film. She wanted to do her own movie, right? But it wouldn't have had to be a big thing of the movie. But I'm glad they didn't do it in Wonder Woman 84. And I think that the Flash movie, Flashpoint, is the best place to do it. Now, if you're going to ask me, do I agree with this? Do I agree with this Flashpoint scenario? Do I agree that they're going to reboot the universe? Well, this is going to be kind of controversial, because I think they need to. Because right now, the universe is a clusterfuck. It doesn't matter what you're a fan of, the Hamadaverse or the Snyderverse. None of it makes sense anymore, right? Especially once you see the Snyder Cut. And you got Mira going, you know. From that moment onwards, nothing makes sense. Because the Snyder Cut can't really be canon to what they've done thus far. The Snyder Cut can't be canon to James Wan's Aquaman movie. They're totally different. Snyder's Atlantis, Zack's Atlantis is quite different to James Wan's Atlantis. And this is why none of this makes kind of cohesive sense anymore. I love the films, each and every one of them, mostly. But as a cohesive franchise, it no longer works. People need to step away from their paranoia. Listening to Ann Sarnoff and Walter Hamada and Jim Lee, it's pretty clear there are many, many reasons why they are doing this. First of all, the multiverse strategy is being done for many reasons. One is for inclusion and representation, so they can say, this is the multiverse, baby. We can have a minority character being cast here. We can have someone from the LGBTQ community playing this version of this character, because it's the multiverse, baby. That's one of the reasons, right? So there's a lot of tokenization involved in this, because that's how Hollywood works now. But creatively, you give yourself a bigger door, because by doing the multiverse strategy, by doing this reboot in the middle of a franchise in this Flash movie, you're resetting things, but not forgetting anything that's gone past. So it's very interesting how this is going to work. Are we getting a new Superman? Is it still Henry Cavill? What are they going to do to Batfleck? Because if they're rebooting the universe, Batfleck and Cavill don't have to be there anymore. So these decisions are interesting. If you're rebooting the universe, you don't have to have a Ray Fisher cyborg. You can have a totally brand new cyborg with a brand new backstory. So this film, Flashpoint, needs a really, really delicate touch. I know some of you are going to be frustrated with me saying that this needs to happen, but it does need to happen, right? It does need to happen. I wish we lived in a world where we could say fuck Justice League and slot the Snyder Cut after, Wonder Woman, right? The first Wonder Woman 2017. I wish we could live in that world. But unfortunately, there are elements in that film that don't work anymore. I've compared Zack's Atlantis to James Wan's Atlantis. That's one plot hole, right? You've got Superman turning up at the end of Shazam with his blue and red suit on. Well, at the end of the Snyder Cut, he's still got the black suit on. It makes no literal sense. So as I say, this film needs the touch of a delicate, intelligent director. And maybe you don't like It Chapter 2, but if you go to the first It movie that Andy Muschietti directed, he has got a delicate touch. He is a very clever storyteller, and he is a clever director. But I just don't think that Andy Muschietti is doing this. I think Andy and his sister, Barbara, I think they're going to be the new Zack and Deb. I think this is what they're looking at. I think these two are very humble people, talented people, who are excited to be involved in this and really could do something special here. And as I say, in an ideal world, Zack would never have been forced off the project. Everything would be all right. And by now, we'd be on to Justice League 3, wouldn't we? Of course. That's what I would have wanted, right? I'm always been Team Zack, but I'm also Team DC. That's my first priority. And we have to sort out this clusterfuck. It's as simple as that. You can't just keep on treading water and drowning. No pun intended with Aquaman. You have to tread on even ground eventually. So I think that the multiverse strategy and the rebooting of the universe in Flashpoint is the right way to go. As long as you're not too toxic, right, over Zack's properties, right? This is the interesting thing. And what does this say about the future of the restoration of the Snyderverse? I think HBO Max are going to want more. And hopefully, sooner rather than later, we get that announcement so they can say, listen, this is an Elseworld. It's nothing to do with what we're doing centrally. Zack's literally, he's gone into the operating room and his universe has been pulled off, amputated away from the central universe. And he can do whatever he wants there, but it's nothing to do with this. If they can do this cleanly in Flashpoint with Ezra Miller's Flash, with Ezra Miller's Flash rebooting the universe after he fucks things up by creating a new universe to save his mother, and they do it in a delicate touch, this could be very interesting. You could have this amazing interconnective universe, which is what Ann Sarnoff, Walter Hamada and Jim Lee are going for. This is what she spoke about in the Variety hit piece. That element of the hit piece was interesting. It was the attack of us, the fans, I didn't like. But if she stayed away from that, actually a lot of the stuff is interesting because as a business, it makes sense to have an interconnective universe where you've got this multiverse and the walls are broken down of this multiverse and you've rebooted the universe in Flashpoint and all of a sudden it's an exciting new future with Sasha Calle, or however you pronounce her surname. Sorry, Sash, can't say your surname, but with Sasha Calle as Supergirl. That's exciting. So if you're a DC purist and a DC fan, this will excite you more than if you're a fan of the Snyderverse. If you're a Snyder purist, this will probably make you go on Twitter and rant and rave and things like this. But although I am a Snyder fan and I love his DC movies and I want to see more and I want to restore the Snyderverse, as a business, what they're doing here, and you've got to understand that Ann Sarnoff and Jason Kilar have been very, very clever in their careers in the past. Now, they've never been able to pull off anything as precarious as this, because it is a precarious situation doing this. If they pull this off, then the DC Extended Universe, the DCEU, will be a very valuable IP because the DC IP should be one of the most valuable cinematic universes out there. It should really be competing with the MCU. Now, my priority and my agenda isn't, I don't get up in the morning wanting DC to beat the MCU, although hearing the words DCEU has beaten the MCU is music to my ears, like the Snyder Cut beating Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And so, as I say, this is very interesting because I think we are looking at a DC rebirth, and who survives this DC rebirth is very, very interesting. I've told you before, I think that Margot Robbie maybe not be playing Harley Quinn again, but I could be wrong about that. But this rebirth, this rebooting of the universe in Flashpoint, gives them an opportunity to talk to these actors and say, do you want a part of this future, this exciting future, or not? Ray Fisher, listen, do you want a part of this or not, right? Whether he's in the Flash or not. And it's looking like he won't be. It's time to talk to these people and say, we need to know who's in this for the future. Because there can be no messing about here. We're about to reboot the universe. We need to know who we're going to keep. They've obviously written the script. The Flash movie or Flashpoint goes into shooting sometime this month. That's exciting. We're going to read an article shortly where The Rock's Black Adam goes into shooting next week. A very exciting year in terms of production if you're a fan of the DC Extended Universe. So, in closing this conversation down, I believe we are looking at not only a multiverse strategy here, but a rebooting of the DCEU. This both scares the shit out of me, but also excites me a great deal. Now, you remember a couple of days ago, Scott Edwards got me to read an article about Eclipso in Stargirl. Well, this is very interesting. He's shown me an old article here from direct.com spreading a rumour that Eclipso also may be in Black Adam. So let's take a look at this, Scott. So this is from Scott Edwards, at Movies TV Man. Here's a cool article for the next DCEU Daily. We might be seeing Eclipso on television and the films. It's an older article, but still relevant, I think. Let's have a look. Taking some time to upload, but we will get there. Come on. Right. So, Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam will introduce DC supervillain Eclipso, exclusive by Tom Drew of the Direct. Black Adam was one of the many upcoming DC films to have been met with delays, with the film now without a confirmed release date. Remember, this is an old article. Nevertheless, new details have continued to release surrounding the Black Adam's cast. The Invisible Man's Aladdin Hodge recently joined the cast as Hawkman, rounding out the Justice Society of America that will be featured in the film. Sarah Shahi is also rumoured to have a role, she has, as the DC character Isis, who will play a female lead and love interest opposite Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam. It's really funny how they tell us they think we need to know that she's a female lead because we know she's female. Weird what society we live in today, isn't it? Anyway, producers of Black Adam also have big plans for crossovers with other DC properties, with producer Hiram Garcia particularly noting the direct connection to Shazam. Garcia also mentions that the studio has big ambitions for all of the new characters being introduced in the film. And we're talking about the Justice Society of America here, so that's very exciting. Indicating that Justice Society characters could crop up in other DC films in the future. Now, a new DC character will be joining the film who seems to spell trouble for Black Adam. The directors exclusively learned that the DC supervillain Eclipso will make his DCEU debut in Black Adam. Sources indicate that the character will be used to help imprison Black Adam in the film. Some fans may be unaware of Eclipso being quite a relatively obscure character to a typical viewer. The character is somewhat of a sorcerer, possessing a vast array of magical powers. Eclipso is a frequent adversary of the Justice Society of America, with the mantle being held by different characters at various points. This leads to a few possibilities for how he will be incorporated in the film. In the original teaser, Black Adam mentions that he's imprisoned for his crimes, which is paired with imagery of the wizard Shazam electrifying the villain. The direct usage of the term imprisoned could suggest that this is the point that Eclipso is introduced, retooling the character to exist in the BC time period to aid Shazam. Alternatively, Eclipso could be featured in a traditional role as a Justice Society villain. This may force the Justice Society's hand to ask the supervillain for help, leaving them with no choice but to get Eclipso to seal Black Adam at the end of the film. Interesting. Eclipso seems to have been teased previously in concept art for Black Adam, with the inclusion of the Heart of Darkness in the comics. The Heart of Darkness, an item that Eclipso is bound inside of in the teaser. The item is seen floating next to Black Adam prior to him returning in the present day. Perhaps Eclipso is the reason for Black Adam's escape in addition to his imprisonment, cutting a deal with Adam to benefit both parties somehow. The inclusion of Eclipso is interesting, considering that the character has been confirmed to appear in the second season of Stargirl. Exactly. After an initial season finale tease, this demonstrates that DC continues not to be worried about having multiple incarnations on the silver and small screen at the same time. The studio will soon have 3 Batman in different films at the same time, being the Michael Keaton, Ben Affleck and Robert Pattinson iterations in The Flash and Batman respectively. DC therefore is not concerned with multiple concurrent portrayals, trusting that audiences will be able to differentiate between the various incarnations. So when Black Adam will release is unknown. It is known, we know it's next year. I forgot the exact date now, but Eclipso should pose an interesting threat to the character when the film does come out. So this is interesting. Now, we've just been talking about this multiverse strategy. So I don't think they give a shit about having another version of Eclipso. It could be the same version, right? Maybe Eclipso can travel through the multiverse. I think if you're going to have a multiverse strategy, wouldn't it be good if you had one character traveling through the multiverse causing trouble? Maybe a version of Lex Luthor. This is how I've always said that Michael Rosenbaum's Lex Luthor from Smallville could be introduced. Don't forget, we never saw him in Arrowverse. He turned that offer down because they didn't tell him what he'd be doing or what he'd be paying. It was what they'd be paying him. It was ridiculous, right? And I don't blame Michael for not doing it. He didn't want to ruin the Lex Luthor legacy of Smallville. But if just bear with me. But imagine if Michael Rosenbaum's Lex Luthor found the ability and the tool to help him travel through the multiverse and change things up. That could be very, very interesting. And it would be a great way to have Michael's Lex doing something. Because I've always held this dream that one day we will see Rosenbaum's Lex Luthor, the same Lex Luthor from Smallville, appear. And this will be a great way. So this would be awesome. This sounds like a great character. We read a bit about him the other day, thanks to Scott Edwards again. Thanks for that article as well, Scott, and thanks for this one. So he sounds like an interesting character, and I think this is going to happen. And as we've been discussing, this is the whole point of the multiverse strategy. Different versions of different characters, not just of Superman and Wonder Woman and people like that. Basically, the multiverse strategy means the potential is limitless, and that's what's always excited me about this strategy. Scott Edwards also asks, Movies TV Man, in addition to the Eclipso article, my question for the next DCEU Daily is, are you excited for Zatanna movie? I am. I think she might have ties to the Justice League Dark series and might receive training from Dr. Fate, who's being introduced in Black Adam. Yet the Zatanna situation is interesting, Scott, because they've got a very, very talented young director, or writer at least, because she says she doesn't know she's directing it. I've got a lot of faith in this creative and how she talks. She talks unlike these other idiots in the industry right now. She seems interested in the actual piece of work, which is really exciting. I think we're definitely, look, they've said we're definitely getting a Zatanna movie, right? We know we're getting a Justice League Dark. But as I say, this is the multiverse strategy. So we could have two different versions of Zatanna. But more than likely, because I think both of these are J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot productions, I would imagine we'll get one Zatanna and she'll be involved in J.J. Abrams' Justice League Dark series as well as the movie. It would be interesting if we could get to know her with a few cameos as well. I think what Walter Hamada is doing is quite exciting. If you put your earmuffs on and just ignore what's going on with Ray Fisher for the time being and think about the work he's doing, I think this is the work we should be excited about. The future of the DC Extended Universe after Flashpoint. I mean, James Gunn's Suicide Squad is exciting. Can't wait. You know, Aquaman 2 is exciting. Fury of the Gods is exciting. All that stuff, Black Adam especially, is exciting. I think the potential is limitless for that movie, by the way. But I think the very idea and the plan that Walter is working on, and I think this is a smart guy, and I think he can produce things on budgets, and I think this is very interesting. So, yes, so I am excited about this, Scott. I think Zatanna is a piece of untapped potential. I think, well, she's only been used in Smallville. I can't remember seeing her in anything else. I don't know if she's been in Arrowverse. But Zatanna is literally a magic user. So there's lots of potential in that. So really excited about her, Scott. And I can't wait to see Justice League Dark. And I can't wait especially to see the Zatanna movie. You're going to say, Mick, this time last week you were saying you wasn't excited for the multiverse. It's in the wrong hands. Yes, I know. Because we are people being played like fiddles by different people that are involved behind the scenes of the DCEU. It's difficult. But I have been consistent from the very beginning when, since DC Fandom, saying the multiverse strategy was very exciting. And the point is that Walter Hamada has got a great CV and he is a clever guy. And I've always defended him when Ray Fisher has come after him as well. So I am excited about this. And yes, today, this week, I'm actually coming out of my slumber. I want it all. I want this exciting multiverse strategy, and I want to restore the Snyderverse. Why can't I have it all? Why must it be this or that? Why must it be Man of Steel is better than Superman the movie, or Superman the movie is better than Man of Steel, or Christopher Reeve's better than Henry Cavill, or Henry Cavill's better than Christopher Reeve? I'm not interested in all that. That's pie eaters kind of mentality, right? And I like my pies, but I'm also, got a great body, great love life. I'm a cool guy, right? And I don't like battles. I'd rather make love, in other words, than make war. Now, I know that won't make this YouTube channel very successful, but I don't care. Anyway, Dwayne Johnson shows off his Black Adam physique in workout photo. By Rachel Labonte of Screen Rant, Dwayne Johnson proves he's very ready to play Black Adam by posting an impressive workout picture on social media ahead of production commencing. Dwayne Johnson shows off his impressive Black Adam physique ahead of filming kicking off this week. At long last, Johnson's DCEU debut is finally making real progress. The former wrestler turned actor was first cast as the franchise's Black Adam in 2014 with an eye on introducing him in the movie Shazam. However, plans later changed and a proper solo film dedicated to the character was put into development. Black Adam has taken some time to really get off the ground. You know what? Screen Rant are obsessed with doing this previously thing where they kind of update you with everything that's happened. I think they do it on purpose to waste some space. It really is annoying. And the coronavirus pandemic only complicated matters last year when it delayed the film. But, Rachel, we already know all of this, for crying out loud. Luckily, however, Black Adam is just about ready to go. Last week, Johnson confirmed Black Adam will be released in July 2022. That date. Can't wait. Firmly putting the movie back on the DCEU's calendar. After being briefly removed, the cast has been rounded out with Pierce Brosnan being the latest to join the project as Justice Society of America member Dr. Fate. He joins Noah Centineo, Atom Smasher, Quintessa Swindell as Cyclone, and Aldis Hodge as Hawkman. Johnson's Jungle Cruise director, Jean-Marie Collet Serra, will helm Black Adam. On Wednesday, Johnson revealed he is officially Black Adam ready. With a brand new workout photo on social media, as usual, Johnson's physique is in tip-top shape and is definitely one befitting a powerful villain anti-hero. Additionally, he confirmed in the caption, Black Adam begins filming this very week. Perhaps either tomorrow or Friday, you can see his post in the space down below. Right, basically, there's a full stop there. So basically, powerful villain, anti-hero. Additionally, he confirmed in the caption below, Black Adam begins filming this very week. Perhaps either tomorrow or Friday, you can see either tomorrow or Friday. So basically, it's, what day is it today? It's Thursday. Some of you will be on Friday by the time you see this post, this edition of the DCEU Daily. So that's exciting. So basically, we could start with Black Adam today or tomorrow. So I'm very excited. 4 DCEU movies coming next year. I think they're all shooting this year. All right, one of those 4, the Batman has already finished production and they're working on post-production now, which is really exciting as well. So I don't think we're infringing any copyright rules if we show this. So this is awesome. He looks in fucking amazing shape. Lots of time for this human being. A gentle, kind gentleman, and I think he's really talented. And his passion for DC and Black Adam is brilliant. The themes that this film is going to cover are going to be sensational. I am so excited for this. Throughout the past year, Johnson has kept fans updated with his workout progress with plenty of beefy pics on social media. His co-stars Centineo and Hodge have similarly put in their own work, proving Black Adam has some heavyweights headed its way. With production on the precipice of kicking off, the cast is finally able to embark on the project they've been waiting so long to begin. And it must be quite the relief. Perhaps Johnson will share some fun peeks at the Black Adam set once the ball gets rolling. Yeah, I tell you what, I'm desperate for those, Dwayne. Black Adam will tell the original story of Johnson's titular former slave. Early concept art for the film was revealed at DC Fandom last summer, hyping up the ancient aesthetic of the project for Johnson. Black Adam has been a long time in the making, and it's about a time he finally joins the DCEU. While the movie's actual release is still well over a year away, doesn't matter. It's thrilling to know actual footage of the movie will finally exist within the world. Expect more updates from Johnson as Black Adam gets underway. And this is why I'm excited, everyone. That's why I think this Hamada verse is not as bad as everyone's saying it's going to be. I think something exciting is on its way. But I tell you what's exciting about Black Adam. And I think it's going to be exciting for kind of people of colour and that community as well. Shall I tell you why? Because I think like they were so inspired by, what's his face? I forgot the bloody Marvel character now. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. What's wrong with me? You know the one. Anyway, you know the Marvel property, right? Black Panther. Jesus Christ. And I've forgotten the actor's name now, but the guy who passed away who played him was fantastic, wasn't he? I think Black Panther is amazing. I was a bit underwhelmed by its third act. Seemed like a bit of kind of Phantom Menace third act, but never mind. A great movie. And as I was saying, my mind is Swiss cheese, isn't it? But as I was saying, I think this could have similar effect for the black community. This story starts off with Black Adam being a slave, breaking the chains of his slavery, right, and becoming this hero, then becoming this anti-villain. I think this will resonate huge with black audiences. And I think this is massive, especially in the times we live in with Black Lives Matter and all these situations. And that kind of representation and that kind of inclusion I love, because my parents are immigrants. They came to the UK as Greek Cypriots. My mum a 20-year-old. My father an 8-year-old, a disabled, crippled 8-year-old who had to come to the UK for medical treatment because out here in Cyprus there was no treatment for him, and they helped him, and he was adopted by an English family. So these themes are important to me, but we must never, ever put representation over entertainment like I think Ray Fisher wants to. Entertainment and representation together is something really powerful, and I can't wait to see this movie because I think it's going to be one of the best we've ever seen. By the way, talking of The Rock, lots of rumours in these rumour sites that you can't really trust, but apparently The Rock does want to produce a Man of Steel sequel with Henry Cavill in it. I think everything is pointing to The Rock having big involvement within the DCEU and having crossovers, as it's been teased in some of these articles I've read today. So I think there's a big chance that Cavill will be in Black Adam. Fingers crossed. And now, in the cold light of day, when I don't let Ray Fisher manipulate me in his thoughts and, you know, his priorities, and he's got his own priorities, and I respect the guy. He's a very brave young man. That's fine. I understand. A lot of what he says is cool, but a lot of what he says isn't cool, and that's the problem. And I think you lot are going to have to understand that I'm not a blind follower, right? I'm not a leader, but I've got a mind of my own. I'm nobody's fucking puppet, right? So I'm a DC fan, and the way I'm seeing from this central universe now, today, might change tomorrow, the next second or whatever, see what else comes out. But I must say, this plan from Walter Hamada and Jim Lee and Ann Sarnoff, I think is pretty tasty. And I'm looking forward to it. And finally today, we finish off on the Snyderverse, which I think is a really great thing to do, even if I do say so myself. Anyway, Andy, whose surname I can't pronounce, from Screen Rant, is doing this article. How Luthor's Injustice League story ended in Snyder's Justice League 2 plan. If Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 had happened, Lex Luthor would have had a big arc that would have seen the creation of the Injustice League. I must say, very disappointed that Luthor wasn't more involved, seeing basically Darkseid and Steppenwolf were involved in the whole Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut story because of what Lex did in BVS, and I think his involvement should have been a bit bigger. But then again, I wanted what's his name? I forgot another name, but Perry White. I would have liked to see Perry White in Justice League. I think even a little cameo would have been fine, and it's a shame he wasn't involved. Anyway, Lex Luthor and the Injustice League would have been a crucial component to Zack Snyder's Justice League 2. The Snyder Cut was only the third chapter in the director's envisioned 5-part story. The Snyder Cut followed the origin story of how the Justice League was born, bringing Superman back from the dead and trying to prevent the nightmare future from happening. The Snyder Cut is a payoff to past DCEU films, while also setting up the foundation for the later end game. For the time being, Zack Snyder's Justice League won't be getting any follow-ups after its release on HBO Max. Warner Brothers CEO and Sarnoff has said the studio is going forward with other plans for the DC brand. However, before the HBO Max product has been released, storyboards and concept ideas about Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and Zack Snyder's Justice League 3 have reached the public. Yeah, just by accident, eh, Zack? That gave fans an insight into where the filmmaker was going with the DC universe, including the return of Lex and the live-action debut of the Injustice League. While Lex as well as the Injustice League wouldn't have been a big part of the third installment, they would have served a large role in Zack Snyder's Justice League 2. This would have been the third time for Jesse Eisenberg's take on the iconic Superman baddie following his arc in Batman vs Superman, Dawn of Justice, and a brief appearance in the Snyder Cut. But through Luthor, multiple DC villains would have gotten a chance to be part of a Justice League story as the Injustice League. In Zack Snyder's Justice League, Lex was still locked up at the Arkham home for the emotionally troubled for the most part of the film. Lex is, however, seen at the start of the Snyder Cut in the opening scene when Superman and Doomsday had their showdown. While the Man of Steel was screaming in pain, Lex was still in the Kryptonian scout ship, where he was watching a liquid geo-hologram of Steppenwolf and learning about the 3 mother boxes. Lex is then absent for most of the Snyder Cut while he gets mentioned by Batman at one point to Alfred as he's trying to build the Justice League. It wasn't until the very end of Zack Snyder's Justice League when Lex made his move and re-entered the story. After the team has defeated Steppenwolf while also coming face-to-face briefly with Darkseid, one of the final scenes in Zack Snyder's Justice League revolves around the supervillain when a guard at the Arkham home tries to get Lex to come out of his cell. The inmate doesn't respond. The guard looks to check on Lex but discovers that it's not him. After all, it's another bald man in a straitjacket who begins to laugh manically. It turns out that Lex had actually escaped the Arkham home as he meets up with Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke. In the theatrical cut, Lex asks Slade if they should perhaps have a league of their own. In the Snyder Cut, however, Lex ends up revealing to Slade that Bruce Wayne is Batman, which makes Deathstroke very happy to hear. Based on Snyder's story plans, had his original Justice League film come out in 2017, Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 would have picked up on the threads of the solo films for the other heroes. In the follow-up, Lex would be busy putting together the Injustice League, a team of supervillains that has existed in DC Comics for several decades. But as Lex brought his team to life, Batman and Lois Lane would be trying to find him. But during Batman's search, he would run into the Riddler, who informs the Dark Knight that Lex had come to him for information on the anti-life equation. Per Snyder's storyboards, it became the riddle of life itself for Edward Nygma, as he warns Bruce what will happen when Lex uses it, as he had solved it. But Lex would make things worse in Zack Snyder's Justice League 2. Once it became clear that he had the mother boxes, Lex manages to activate them and gets the anti-life equation. But this is when Darkseid would suddenly appear for a boom tube and take it for himself. While Lex wasn't prepared for this, he ends up trying to help Darkseid instead by telling him that the Apocalypse Lord can now kill Superman. But Darkseid wants Kal-El to submit to him, and that's how Lex becomes the one to suggest that he should kill Lois. Fucking hell, man. Lex, you're dark, mate. In order to break Superman's spirit. So that's exactly what Darkseid does, as he murders Lois and gets Superman to succumb to the anti-life equation. However, this would come to haunt Lex, as Superman would show up and kill him with his heat vision towards the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League 2. Wow! No one's surviving this franchise, are they? As important as Lex was in Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 to help Darkseid, he wouldn't have been alone throughout the story. His other big role was forming the Injustice League that would have consisted of villains from the other DCEU films that would have come out after Zack Snyder's Justice League if it had been released in 2017. Originally, The Flash and Aquaman, which still did, would have arrived after the Snyder Cut that would have set up Len Snart, aka Captain Cold, as well as Ocean Master and Black Manta, respectively, but 2017's Wonder Woman would have also factored in, as all those films would have been a main connection to the Justice League sequel. Lex would have recruited Captain Cold, Black Manta, Ocean Master, as well as a still alive Dr. Maru. Wow! And in return, he would have given them what they needed to take down their respective hero. During Zack Snyder's Justice League 2, Dr. Moreau would end up releasing a deadly chemical gas on Themyscira that killed all the Amazons, as well as Wonder Woman and Queen Hippolyta, who had just reunited since Diana left the island in 1918. Dr. Moreau would die in the process, but that was seemingly a price she was ready to pay, as she got her revenge. Captain Cold would have gotten his ice weapon upgraded that would allow him to take on the Flash, as they have a showdown in Central City that would end with Cyborg losing half of his robot body. Wow. Black Manta and Ocean Master would get Aquaman killed during his coronation in Atlantis. This would have been a big part in the making the nightmare become a reality, with half of the Justice League now dead, while the others would have to fight their last breath for 5 years in Zack Snyder's Justice League 3. Wow. Lex and Injustice League were primary threats in Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 that ended up causing a lot of harm to the team. Unfortunately for them, all of it would get undone after Barry Allen in Zack Snyder's Justice League 3 goes back in time to warn Batman and prevent the nightmare future from happening. Because of that, Superman would discover Lex's plan and stop him, as well as the Injustice League members' attacks on the other heroes. But while that became the end of Lex and the Injustice League in Snyder's Justice League trilogy, those ideas will likely never be seen on screen. However, some of those villains are still in the DCEU, so what's their future in other future films? Dr. Moreau hasn't returned since appearing in Wonder Woman, and given the Flash movie was delayed and redeveloped several times, Captain Cold has yet to appear on the big screen. It's possible Snot could show up in Andy Machete's The Flash, or perhaps the potential sequels. Black Manta will be a primary antagonist in Aquaman 2, and once Ocean Master will be back in some capacity. According to Patrick Wilson, even though the theatrical cut of Justice League teased the creation of the Injustice League, it's unlikely Warner Bros. Is making a follow-up to that particular DCEU movie. As far as Eisenberg's Lex goes, it seems that he might actually be done in the DCEU after Zack Snyder's Justice League at this point. It wouldn't be shocking if Warner Bros. Gets a new actor to play Lex either in the Superman reboot from J.J. Abrams or recast for the DCEU for future installments of other franchises. It's disappointing that Lex and the birth of the Injustice League will never see the light of day, as that was one of Snyder's strongest plans for his Justice League trilogy. But things may change in the future. Warner Bros. Also said the Snyder Cut would never be released. So while it's unlikely, never say never about Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 getting revived, somehow, if it does, fans will get to see Lex Luthor create the Injustice League after all. And this is what's very important about kind of the multiverse strategy and the fight to restore the Snyderverse, because you could get a brand new Lex Luthor when Barry Allen reboots the universe, but you can still use Jesse's Lex Luthor over at HBO Max in Zack Snyder's Elseworld universe. So this is what I'm saying by getting everything. Now this is amazing. Amazing. The Injustice League with Lex, him forming the Injustice League in Justice League 2. You know, the symphony, the synchrony in that, right? After Batman forming his own Justice League in the movie prior. So I would have absolutely adored this. It would have been awesome. But never say never. Keep on hashtagging Restore the Snyderverse, and you never know what's possible. Comment down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. See you again soon.